In the shadows of early American history, some truths were never meant to surface. The Convent of Eternal Tears is gone, its walls burned, its records sealed, its name whispered only by the very brave or the very cursed. But what if the horror never ended? What if the Ashford sisters had prepared for everything, including their own downfall? Far beyond the forests of Maine, in the cold hills of upstate New York, a second location waits to be uncovered, a place built for failure, secrecy, and silence. And now, over 200 years later, the last survivor has broken her silence. This is her story and the final chapter of the Ashford legacy. This tale is not for weak minds. Only those who seek the blackest corners of hidden history should continue. If you believe darkness must be revealed and not buried, subscribe. Comment below the name of your city if you have the courage. But know this: once you hear what happened beneath Ashwood Asylum, you may never sleep the same again. Long after the fire consumed the original convent, rumors spoke of another structure. It was never found on any map. No deed claimed it. No records mentioned it. Yet people still disappeared. Locals called it Ashwood. Hidden among frostbitten pines and crumbling stone fences, it sat hollow, as if waiting. It was built by the same three women, Agatha, Prudence, and Temperance, not as a convent but something colder. Not a sanctuary, a vault. The building was smaller than the main compound, but its purpose was far more brutal. Here they conducted trials. They perfected methods that failed elsewhere. It became a cemetery for thoughts. No prayers, no candles, only scalpels, ledgers, and time. The women who came here were different. Not rebellious daughters, not melancholy widows, not wayward wives. They were deemed unfixable. One had spoken fluent Latin in her sleep. Another refused food but recited entire sermons backward. A third had forgotten her own name but memorized every verse of Leviticus. They were called residuals. These were the minds that resisted correction, immune to procedure, deaf to conditioning. Temperance called them raw clay. No families dropped them off. No clergy recommended them. They arrived at night, escorted by hired men who took payment in silence. And once they entered, no one asked where they went. Recovered in 1911, wrapped in waxed cloth and buried beneath rotted floorboards, Agatha's final journal tells everything. It was addressed not to God, not to medicine, but to those who seek mastery over the human soul. She wrote of emotional containment chambers, rooms with mirrors on all sides. She designed echo corridors where victims heard their own thoughts screamed back in distorted pitch. She fed hallucinations with rhythmic lights. She called the process mind separation, not a cure, but a reset. Patients were not corrected. They were hollowed, until all that remained was obedience. Her real name was gone. The records refer only to 113, a merchant's daughter, former scholar, sent by her own sister, who claimed she had blasphemous thoughts. She did not resist the procedures. She asked questions. What was the purpose of light deprivation? How often were others sedated? Why were some women never seen again? Temperance called her dangerous. Prudence prepared a full cranial modification. Patient 113 was to become the first complete reset. Every memory, every belief, erased and rebuilt. But on the eve of the procedure, something went wrong. The power source at Ashwood was crude. Oil-fed lamps, winding dynamos, mirrored sunlight tubes. That night, everything failed. Darkness filled every corridor, and in that silence one scream broke free, not of fear, not of pain, of rage. Patient 113 escaped her restraints. She moved unseen. The sisters searched. The other women stayed locked in cells, humming softly in perfect unison, unaware. Then, one by one, the lights flickered back, and the sisters realized the operating logs were missing. Decades later, a traveler named Abigail Marlowe stumbled upon the ruins. She claimed the air was thick, unnatural, like breathing water. Inside, she found a single chair, a metal table, and walls covered with pinned pages, surgical notes, diary fragments, patient codes. One page read, Subject 113, Final Phase Incomplete, Mental Inversion Observed, Control Lost, Danger Imminent. Abigail gathered the documents and left without taking photos. She said she heard breathing. When questioned later, she described the sound of scalpels tapping glass and a woman humming behind the wall. Sarah, the brave woman who escaped the main convent, had one more secret. Her personal memoir, hidden in a box beneath her childhood home, included a sketch of a second building. She called it Ashwood. In one entry, she wrote, I heard Temperance speak of another place, not for healing, for purging, where the broken are sent to be unmade. That sketch perfectly matched the ruins Abigail later found. No one knows what happened to patient 113. Some say she perished in the snow. Others believe she became something else. One unsettling legend describes a pale woman spotted near the ruins every April. She sings ancient hymns backwards. She carries no name, but her eyes are always watching. In 1974, hikers reported symbols carved into trees surrounding the Ashwood site, identical to ones found in Agatha's journals. The area has since been declared off-limits. No restoration attempts have been made. And yet, every few years, someone disappears nearby. And no one asks why. Perhaps the scariest part of this story is not what happened, but how easily it was forgotten. The Ashford sisters never faced judgment. Their journals now sit in dusty archives, read only by a few scholars and conspiracy hunters. But their legacy lives on, not in textbooks, not in sermons, but in the silence between screams. They were not healers. They were architects of emptiness, and Ashwood was their masterpiece. What happened in those echoing halls cannot be undone, and maybe somewhere in the world it continues, under a different name, with different tools, but the same goal: control, erasure, silence. Would you recognize it if it happened again? If this story unsettled you, share it with someone who thinks darkness always stays buried. Subscribe for more forbidden histories, and comment below, do you believe Ashwood was the end, or just the beginning? Because somewhere, someone is still listening, and her name may still be 113.